Now that we've talked about the class as a template for objects, and we know that objects are entities, an instance of the class, which has attributes and methods, we can actually do a lot of things with those. Okay. With that, you can actually have some kind of abstraction. When you have an object, you go ahead and hide all the complex details inside the class. And then you only give out the things that are important. For instance, if you're looking at abstraction, it will make it easier for the user to only work with selected behaviors. They don't need to know about all the different attributes. They just need to know what behaviors are out there. Abstraction, again, it's like us driving a car. We don't really know how the engine is connected. We don't know all the different things that the engine does. We just know that we put fuel in the car. We step on the gas, the car moves forward. We step on the brakes, the car stops. So all the complexity is hidden in the engine. It just helps us with the simplicity that you turn the wheel, or you turn the steering wheel, the tire turns, the car goes right, and so on. So that's how you abstract all the complexity, and you just give a simplified high-level tool for the users to use your program. With encapsulation, though, it's like hiding your data or hiding your code, but it's also bound together. So again, in this case, it means the information is hidden within the class. Most of the time, you don't want people to have direct access to your attributes because they'll mess things up. Okay, you only want to reveal selected information. So when you encapsulate it, for instance, we don't need to always know all the bolts and nuts in the engine or the cables that are passing inside the car for electrical reasons, the circuit and so on. If we need to go ahead and say fix the headlamps, maybe we'll go to the fuse box and then we disconnect or connect whatever needs to be done, and then if headlights would either be on or off. All right. Now next is inheritance. Inheritance is easier to understand, I think, because it's just like us inheriting from our parents and our children inheriting from us. Question, Aaron?
Yeah, I'm just trying to understand the difference between abstraction and encapsulation. Does it sound like the same?
Yes, it does sound like the same, but in the next couple slides, I'm going to go more in depth to talk about each one of them with more detailed examples. I think that would definitely help out. It's easy to use this, but also when we start typing out the code, it will make more sense for us to be able to understand, right?
Yes, cool. I'll hold my fire.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you.
No problem.
So again, inheritance, just like us parents and children or children and parents, when we say our class is made up of attributes and methods, sometimes you might want another class to be created, which is a subset of that main class. Maybe you don't want all the attributes to be inherited. You want only certain attributes. Then that will lead to inheritance. Polymorphism, again, just like we know from biology, you inherit the methods and it helps you to have different forms, right? So in order for me to talk about each of them detailedly, let me start with abstraction, right? So an example of abstraction, or a couple of examples, let's look at an ATM machine. ATM machine has many, many functions, right? But we are going to abstract just the areas that need an input and an output. Okay, so as much as we all know ATM machines are used to withdraw cash, deposit cash, or check and check balance, but when you go to the ATM machine, it doesn't give you all of that at once. So it just gives you the options to choose. Choose if you want to do this or that. But think behind the scenes, there is a long code. I don't know how many lines of code. You can imagine all those different functions that are in there. You're not exposed to all of those all at once. You're exposed to just pick and choose which areas you can have input or what output you need. The same with smartphones. When you have your smartphone, you can either use it to make a call, send messages, take pictures or videos, download stuff. But all of those are embedded within your smartphone. While it's embedded within your smartphone, you only have certain areas that you can pick and choose from. So you're having that abstraction that helps you hide the information, but then you're able to get to each one individually. So again, abstraction displays only important information, but hides all the implementation that is behind the scenes. Sounds good? I hope that was a little bit clearer for encapsulation or abstraction. Now let's talk about encapsulation. Encapsulation, think about a capsule, right? Within the capsule, you have a mixture of medications. If it's not a mixture of medications, it might be a mixture of components, chemical components. They are all bound together, but they're stored within one capsule. Also think about a large organization. Within a large organization, you might have many different areas in it, right? There are some areas that, how should I say it? There's some areas that are for purchase, production, account, sales, and so on and so forth, okay? So what we do here is encapsulation, which usually is just binding data and code together into one unit, rather than having all this dispersed. So when you encapsulate, you're looking at all the different things that your object can do, but you encapsulate it within your class. So within that class, you have all those different methods that are bound together, and then you can call on each method when you need stuff to be done, right? But then you're hiding out your properties or your attributes, in other words. All right, so hopefully that clears a little bit more between what encapsulation is and what abstraction is. So encapsulation, binding it all together. Meanwhile, abstraction is hiding the implementation and just showing the simple interface. All right, so let's jump in further into inheritance. With inheritance, we can go about this create a class, which is a vehicle class. That class will have multiple attributes like color, size, the type of vehicle. But then we can have children, right? We can have classes that are going to inherit from that vehicle class. In that case, you'll be able to create a car, a bus, a plane, a train, all those different, maybe a boat. They are all vehicles, but they have different attributes. They don't always have the same attributes. Rather than having to create separate classes for each one of those, you have one class and then you're inheriting from there to create multiple objects from the same class, right? Or you can have multiple classes inheriting from the same class. Another example would be looking at an animal class. The animal class has unique, or should I say common, attributes like the name of the animal, the sound it makes, the color, the breed, and so on. Those are all going to be embedded within your parent class, which is the animal. But now you can have child or subsets, subclasses that are derived from the animal class. Those subclasses, for instance, a dog, a cow, a cat, pigs, horses, and so on, they are all going to pull certain attributes from your parent class. And they will change some or maybe add some to make it unique for their purposes. In the same light, we have polymorphism. Polymorphism, maybe a boy would be a good example. As a young man can decide to be a student, a player, and a writer at the same time. All of those are all different ways in which the person can exist, or in other words, different ways in which the ability can be exercised for that particular person. Another example, for instance, is looking at objects of classes. Say people in this case make the same sound, we speak the same way, or we have the same kind of sound coming out, maybe a voice. And when we look at animals have different sounds, right? So that way in which they morph, they change, the way their behavior is portrayed or displayed makes it known as polymorphism. For instance, a cow is going to moo, a sheep is going to bar, and a dog will bark, and so on and so forth. Chicken, or should I say birds, would tweet. And those are all different ways, differences that are displayed based on their methods. So does that clarify that part as well?
Can you just one more time, please?
Yep. So for polymorphism, again, we're looking at the different ways in which you can actually, let's put it this way. So polymorphism is the ability for that particular entity to exist in many forms, right? So you can make changes. For instance, the boy in a real world example can be a student, can be a player, it can be a writer. So the boy can exist in different ways in different situations. Likewise, in the case of a human being, if we have animals, people have the same sound, but different animals make different sounds. So again, as you can see in the diagram, you have different sounds for different animals that are made. Those are all ways in which a morph or display or change in the way that things are presented for that class or object in case of an instance. Does that help?
Yes.
Excellent.
Thank you. Yeah, I know. I probably have to sleep over this, but it's a good start.
Yes, this is definitely a step further into object-oriented programming. Those are just principles, the 4 key principles that are seen, but there are many other things that are in there. The main basic thing to remember is just the class, the relationship between the class, the object, and the parts that make up the class, and how they're going to be used to create a constructor, or used by the constructor to create an instance. So we're going to practice some of that in a little bit to see what we have. Sounds good? So let's see here if I can think of an example that I can use. If we can, let me jump into, I think I'm going to, do I want to use Jupyter? Yeah, that's fine. Let's go ahead and use Jupyter Notebooks and create day 8.